Now you're in Homeland Security. What's the difference? There are a lot of differences. National security is about all of us. Homeland Security is about each of us. National security is strategic, centralized, top-driven. Homeland Security is operational, decentralized, bottom-driven, driven from the grassroots, driven from the experience of individual human beings. Problems in national security scale on the wholesale end. They involve us all. Homeland Security challenges and problems scale on the retail end. Each of us is affected. These two, of course, connect. But we need strategies to deal with problems in the homeland, and we need help. I'm told that your community has very good taste when it comes to ideas. I've tried to offer a few. I'm told that you're driven. I wonder, among you, can you tell the differences between the drivers and the driven? In my world, it's important to make that distinction. Pollsters tell us that today, the country is about evenly divided about a lot of things. So many things. 48% this, 52% that. This is a climate that permits many ideas, but it's also a climate that compels few. So we might as well have the satisfaction of thinking the hard thoughts and of doing what is right. My parents, perhaps yours, come from the greatest generation. I think you are the ablest generation. Educated, healthy, smart, well-off, highly mobile and connected, and deeply concerned about your fellow man. We live in an age when we know before victims do that they'll be victims. We live in an age when we know before victims do that they will be victims. What will we do about what we know? Well, 100 years ago, what did the people do about what they knew? In 1910, Churchill was 36 years old. Franklin Roosevelt was 28. Gandhi was 41. Mao Zedong was 17, and J. Robert Oppenheimer was 6. What do you do about what you know? How much time do we have to make a difference? Ours is a very special democracy. It's born of a very deep belief in the core principles of shared humanity and an obligation to value human worth. Ours is a democracy that has been enriched by the cultures of all the world and fueled by the ideas of the courageous, built by the energy of the youth. This is our present at the creation moment. If you talk to people who do research on the brain, they will tell you this is their renaissance. Let's make it ours. What is the vision that you see? What is the vision that you see? I know what I want to see. But as I think Ernest Hemingway said, when you know what you want to say next, it's time to stop. Thank you very much.
Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That was absolutely fantastic, and just the kind of vision that I hope will be seen out of DHS and other government entities, because we need to have this conversation, and it's very refreshing to see it acknowledged on a grand scale. So we have a couple of kind of softball questions to get things going, and then we're going to go right to the audience. So I want to cut a couple of these out that Jane dealt with already. And kind of get maybe a little policy here. With the relatively recent creation of the U.S. Cyber Command, where do you see the responsibilities of security being divided? And this probably goes to the Homeland Security versus National Security division you were talking about. And what are the overlapping responsibilities that need to be addressed?
So in Homeland Security, I come out of a defense background. Homeland Security has been given responsibility for securing the .gov domain and working very closely with the private sector on securing .com. We intend to do that. The vision for Homeland Security, as I mentioned, is to ensure a safe, secure, resilient place where the American way of life can thrive. The Department of Defense has the responsibility for Homeland Defense. We work very closely, but we see clear differences.
Okay, and then how do you see the states in this picture?
You know, it's one of the extraordinary things about Homeland Security, especially for the Department of Homeland Security. You need a homeland sensibility. And we talk about, in the context of Homeland Security, about the enterprise. We don't think that government can do all that needs doing. We don't think the department can do all that needs doing. We think there is important and vital state, local, municipal, tribal inputs that need to contribute to the security of all of us. So they have a key role.
And then you were talking about sort of laws as a trailing indicator. And so right now we're operating in an environment where there is a mismatch between current legislation and sort of facts on the ground as it is. At what point do you see them starting to converge? We're starting to see laws proposed in the House and the Senate, and everybody's got a cybersecurity bill or something. But laws that are rushed are not necessarily the most well-informed laws. So do you see this as like a 5-year, 10-year transitionary period, or how do you see this playing out?
The tradition of law in our country is an extraordinary thing. And the best legal minds will tell you that law anticipates the familiar. We've been here before, maybe not exactly in this way and with these actors, but we've encountered these circumstances before as a society. Making laws is one of the most stabilizing attributes of our society as well. It's a transparent process. Yeah. People know how it's made. Will it take time? Of course it will take time.
Yeah. Yeah, the predictability and the ability to anticipate and businesses to make decisions is very key. In a chaotic environment, how can you plan?
Right. And there are contracting aspects of the law. There are property aspects of the law as well. And so we need to know what we mean when we say, I own this.
Yeah.
This is mine. What do boundaries mean in this context? We need to have this conversation.
And in the cyberspace where the ideas, the intellectual property are virtual, they're synthetic, the concepts of intellectual property, say in the United States and the Western world, compared to other cultures, they don't share that kind of belief in the value of intellectual property potentially. I guess that's where the international governing bodies have to be. If you're going to go normative, there needs to be a common dialogue or a common set of expectations. And so how much does DHS drive that or inform our international debate?
Well, as I mentioned, the United States exists as a leader in a dynamic world where relationships are forming every day. Our ideas, our commerce, our interchange. We are still, in many ways, the most attractive place on the planet to come.
Right.
And so this puts a different meaning to our borders. And it puts a different burden on our ideas and on the way we share them around the world. Our laws will only be one reflection of how we resolve those questions.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to go to some questions in the audience.
Thanks.
So if we can bring up the lights. If we can bring up the house lights so I can actually see people. And then we'll... Wait, who was that? Okay, you've got one over there? Okay. Oh, is that Marcus?
Yes, it is. Hi. We seem to have a really good ability to be galvanized into action after catastrophe. Pearl Harbor, 9/11. And after that, we move very quickly to try to accomplish things. Do you think that we are going to be able to do what we need to do without a cyber catastrophe? Or in Homeland Security, at the water cooler, do your peers say, it's just a matter of time before something horrible happens and that's what we're going to need to do what we actually need to do instead of just talking about what needs to be done?
I'm a person who believes that this country can protect itself. I'm a person who believes in the extraordinary talent, ideas, expertise, energy, and commitment of the American people. Some people talk about that. Some people think it's inevitable that we will face the unthinkable. I don't know. I have a small child. I don't know what's inevitable. And I think if anybody who lived through the events of 1989, if you lived through the events of 2001, you've lost the right to say anything's impossible. So what will we make possible? What will we do with what we know in order to deal with what we don't know?
Is there another question? Okay, we'll do one more over here, and then we'll jump to the other side of the room.
It was a very interesting keynote, but I'm slightly concerned in that the amount of specifics that we've got coming down the line don't seem to be that